Hello and welcome to the TECHunplugged Take. I'm Max Mortillaro and I'm joined today by my colleague and friend Arjan Timmerman. Hello, Arjan.
Hello, good morning, Max.
Hello, Arjan. So we're going to talk today about one of the sessions we've been following at TechField Day 22, where we joined as delegates. And we were talking with Red Hat and particularly with the Openshift team. So Arjan, what are your thoughts on Openshift? Is that something you're seeing during your activities, or is that more a kind of a mystery for you?
Let's put it at a mystery. Let's put it. No, it's not a mystery, but I'm not seeing it at the customers that I'm at least. I think Red Hat Openshift, for me, it's more or less a competitor of VMware with everything that they have, right? But they're more on the open side of things, and that's a great thing. But I really feel that the presentation yesterday, at least for me, I'm not sure what it was for you, but was too much into the developer. There was so much going on about how I'm going to do this and all the scripting and not being in the GUI, and it for me it was a little bit too much on the developer side of things. And from an OpenShift side of thing, I would rather see what it brings within the whole data center and the connection to the cloud, instead of being really into the development side of things.
No, I agree. I mean, to me, it was pretty much the same, I have to say. And we come back to that topic that we have all the time when we're talking about TechField presentations, which is the way the presentation structures really, let's say, plays a big role in the way the technology, the product, the solution presented is perceived by the delegate. And even not just by the delegate, but by the broader audience. So if you ask me, I had pretty much the same problem. It's that we kind of dive maybe a bit too fast into the development matters, it was really that heavy focus for the first hour, perhaps, if not more. And I kind of lost track of what is OpenShift, what is the business value, why do I want to consider OpenShift? Because this was pretty much focused on cloud native, on containers and so on. And everybody knows that Kubernetes is the standard today. So what I needed, and our good friends too sent me a presentation, which I didn't have the chance to check yet, is why in the world do I want to consider going for OpenShift and Kubernetes instead of going for example, VMware Tanzu, or for one of the existing distributions, one of the existing platforms as a service, and so on. So that's what I missed somehow.
For me, there was a couple of things that answered the question that you just asked, because like I already mentioned, they're open sourced. And there were a couple of things that they told about what's going on in the Kubernetes world, where a lot of the stuff is still experimental, to put it that way, and they just put it open. So if you use Kubernetes and you do certain stuff, you're automatically root, which you don't want. So for security folks, this was really something that I picked out of it. Red Hat uses Kubernetes. It's clean Kubernetes, but they do some stuff to make it more usable for the enterprise. And I think that's really what I got out of it. For me, there's still the question about what is OpenShift really? Is it just a Kubernetes platform, or is it much more? And I think the answer came from our good friend Timmerman, who told this is just a small part of OpenShift. It's much more, and I'm still trying to grasp what is the much more.
I guess that we will have to do some homework on that and probably kind of unfold all of that into the whatever content we're going to come up next. But I would concur with you that, to me, the kind of the key differentiator I saw is that, if you look, there's a bunch of Red Hat distributions. The open source world is so big, so many Linux distributions. It kind of grows exponentially all over the place. And we see the same with the Kubernetes world. So many tools. If you look at the CNCF, datasheet, there are so many icons. You're like, okay, oh my God, what am I going to do with that? If you look at it from a perspective, right? And
if you looked at they had their own, they showed what they could do, and there was one sheet where I could really follow, and then they got into the other sheet, and I was like, what is this? Yeah. There were so many icons, and everything needed to work together, and
absolutely. And if you get back to the topics we talked about in the last couple of days, so Veeam, Commvault, and you talk about data protection for that, I mean, it gets a mess. And that's where I think maybe that OpenShift is bringing there a lot of value. Red Hat is known as the enterprise Linux distribution. If you want to run things stable in an enterprise context, then you're going to probably go for Red Hat. And to me, OpenShift gives me this kind of perception, at least from the open source world. If we want to be into a kind of open ecosystem somehow, still want to use Linux and be used to the Red Hat way of doing things, then maybe it's the best way to go, because you get enough support capabilities while being in a kind of a stable, enterprise-friendly environment. So I think it's a lot of trade-off between having this stability and being much more open to the latest bleeding edge.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that they showed us as well is the orchestrator that they have to help you get everything together. And that's, I think, the power of a company like Red Hat is that they can deliver that to you. And certainly if you're a customer that is huge and you want to make sure that you do it the correct way and that you have the support of a company like Red Hat, it's the way to go. There was one more thing that really attracted my attention, because it's things that I'm working with right now, and I'm thinking that Red Hat has a play in that, at least for me, and that was the Edge, the OpenShift Edge offering that they're offering right now. Not all of it, but at least a part of it. Not sure if you want to say anything about it, but otherwise I'll take it over.
Yeah, I'll just let you talk about that maybe and close even on the topic. I just wanted to get back maybe to the kind of the enterprise value and so on, because it just came back to my mind. One of the things that I really appreciated on that video, that the cloud native world is very much kind of, say, command line driven somehow, right? And to some extent, some people also need to get sometimes the visualization. Not everybody might be comfortable, and I really enjoyed the graphical user interface, which allows you to see all of the components. It kind of helps you get a kind of visualization of what your application is made of. All of the small moving parts which make your application. That was great. And the second one was the multi-cluster management capabilities. That was definitely cool. And with that, you can go ahead on the edge use case.
So they talked about, and I don't want to make that very long, but I really dig into what's going on the edge. And I know everybody sees the edge as something else, but showing off that you're working with your partners to create the hardware and the software that people need on the edge. And they dove into one example, which was really the telco, and I totally understand that telcos want this kind of stuff, but I really feel that there's more going on the edge, where you want, and even if you look at a company like VMware is going into that realm as well, right, with VMware on ARM and that kind of stuff. So from that perspective, they have two offerings right now, where they've got the service and worker in a local data center connected to the big data center and helping their customers on that part. And I think in 2021 they've got an offering as well where they do the worker really close to whatever sensor or whatever thing that you want to monitor or want to hook the data in from that particular part. And they're working on that. And that's things that I really see happening, and I really see a big change in that they're much more going towards the Kubernetes world, because it's easy, it's lightweight, it's usable for everybody, and you can hook it into your own data center or into the cloud easily. So I really feel that that's something that can be done with something like Red Hat OpenShift Edge. And I think there's not that much competition right now for them on that part. So really, yeah, was happy to see something like that during the presentation as well.
Yeah, and it's true that the let's say the shift towards moving workloads toward the edge, thanks to the computational capabilities, the new network bandwidth capabilities, and so on, is something that is really going to make changes in the industry, and that will be good for a topic on its own, right? The edge, core, cloud, it's a great topic. But what was interesting to me as well was the fact that Red Hat is very deeply involved into that they've been developing some kind of custom blueprints or solutions somewhat for their customers. So it's not just about, hey, you've got here your distribution for Kubernetes or OpenShift or whatever, but they're really taking this kind of partnering approach with their customers to kind of at least guide them or give them some kind of framework on which to work on. So it's not just an empty blank slate. And to me, that was really cool. So I think that's where they are bringing value to the table.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think that what we should do for the people watching this is that they mentioned a couple of other presentations they did during other field days, and I think that will at least put the links in the blog post as well, so that they can look at that, because otherwise it might be a bit of a strange talk that we do right now. And they said to us as well that those presentations are leading up to what we saw yesterday.
Yeah, so there's some kind of scaling. Unfortunately, of course, since we didn't have all the opportunity to engage with Red Hat on all of those occasions, and it's not that we wouldn't want to, we'd love to, but we also have to deal with so many priorities, right? So it's going to be even good for us to go there and kind of refresh ourselves on the technology.
Absolutely. Yep. Totally agree.
And with that, I guess that's it for today's take on Red Hat OpenShift.